Now, can I ask you about Coles? So we
Yes.
talked yesterday about Coles alleging a conflict of interest because you are chair of a food services company.
Yep.
You said you were going to check out if the company was doing any dealings with Coles, have you?
Yes, I have. As the best of my ability, no, they're not. We don't buy or sell from Coles. We don't sell to the retail industry either. We sell to shops. We sell to some of the larger retailers like Boost Juices, etc., ingredients. This is Coles, I think, just trying to shut me up.
So you haven't got
conflict
no
at all.
commercial
No.
dealings with Coles and any of your other businesses?
No, I don't think so. I really don't. I've tried to think about it, because when I talked about it the other day, I talked about it because I was so disappointed that I'm so concerned about what's happening to Australian manufacturers and to farmers, that when I heard about these 6,000 containers of imported bread coming in, I thought it's wrong and people should know about it. And the way Coles was selling the product gives them no indication at all, in real terms, that this is imported bread. So I'm very focused on that issue. You raised it yesterday with me about, or Coles, sorry, rang up and said Kennett's got a conflict of interest. So I've racked my brains, and I'm involved in many companies, and I don't think of any that I'm associated with that I have a direct relationship with Coles.
What about I mean, I've got no problem with the opinion. You expressing the opinion, and that's a good thing, and I agree with you. But I think when you're working with a food services company, it's probably relevant to disclose that.
Well, I accept that. I'd never crossed my mind because I never ever thought we had a conflict, and I still don't think we do. We're in a different part of the food industry, and my complaints about Coles are not just about food, it's also about the people who provide services to them. So if you're providing cleaning services, if you're providing wholesaling services to them, they have put, and now Woolworths are following. I'm not saying this is just Coles' fault, but Coles, I have files now on manufacturers and others who have been pressured by Coles and Woolworths that are putting their own businesses at risk. And now Coles, as you know, we said yesterday, they're going to reduce the price of their own generic cheese by 30%. What that will do is reduce the sales of all the other branded cheeses to the point that those companies are now at risk.
Well, Coles is still refusing to come on air and discuss it and debate you because they say there's a commercial conflict. Now, I don't know where it is, and they're not telling me, and you're quite sure there isn't.
I don't know of it. I've rung up the CEO, I've had this accusation made, what is the conflict, right? And to my knowledge, we don't deal with Coles. We don't sell to the public, right? We're not in competition with them. We actually supply ingredients to shops and others who sell food to the public. But can I say, I'm not opposed to Coles saying I don't want to debate Kennett. I am surprised, though, they're not prepared to come in and debate the bigger issue. For instance, why are they importing 6,000 things of bread? Why are they reducing the price of cheese, which will put at risk the opportunity of those others in the country who are producing branded products to see their sales fall?
Well, they say they'll do that eventually.
Well, I think it's
You think
important.
they're trying to shut you up?
Oh, there's no doubt about that. There's no doubt about that. I mean, come out and say conflict of... Well, tell you. Go back to the guy who made that accusation and ask him, what is the specific conflict of interest? I don't know what it is. But if they're going to make the allegation, they ought to. I'm happy to go head-to-head with Coles, as you know. I mean, I think this is a big issue for Australians. I don't believe Australians want to walk into Coles and buy imported bread that puts at risk our manufacturers and our farmers. I don't think people want to go into any place and put at risk our sustainability to produce food for ourselves for 50 years. But that's what's going to happen if we Australians don't wake up. So I hope none of our listeners buys Casino Royale bread. I think it is unnecessary, and I think it's against the Australian interest.
Well, I think you're making a fair point. I think it would have been better to declare it, but however, if there's a conflict of interest, it's up to Coles to say what it is.
No. I'm happy to take that criticism. I never thought about it because we're not in the same business. But I do think Coles owe it to our listeners and owe it to the community to come in here and justify what they're doing.
So have you ever met with Coles? Or are you going to meet with Coles?
I am going to meet with Ian McLeod.
Do you know him? Have you dealt with him?
Yes, I've met with him once before.
What, on business matters? Or
yes. I have met with him. And, just in the course of, dealing with people. I meet with a lot of people all around the world. And I'm going to meet with the chairman of... Sorry, not the chairman. The CEO of Wesfarmers.
On this issue?
On this issue, we're meeting in about 3 weeks' time.
Okay, but this is important. You've had meetings in the past on business matters, did you say?
with Ian McLeod. I think I've met him once.
And that was about a business matter?
Yeah.
Do you remember what it was?
Yes, but it's not a relevant business matter to this in any way.
But hang on, any business matter you have with Coles is relevant.
Hang on. It was an issue about 4 years ago. It is not relevant to any of this whatsoever. It was something entirely different.
And was there a falling out over that issue?
No. It was part of a commercial situation. It was part of life, per se.
So you do have a commercial history with Coles?
Oh, with due respect, Neil, I knew the founders of Coles. Is that a commercial interest? I've known the former managing directors of Coles. I've been involved in public life. I've known Coles people. I like them. I used to work on the Coles account. Is that a conflict of interest? When I was a young kid at the advertising agency, I drew up their bloody ads. Is that a conflict of interest? I've known the Coles family. They'd be rolling in their grave.
What you don't seem to understand...
Oh, hang on. Yes. What don't I understand, Neil?
What you don't seem to understand is, I think, when you sit in front of a microphone, you have a significant responsibility.
Yes.
You're using a scarce resource.
Yep.
And if there is any suggestion and of any conflict, and I had the comparison yesterday. If you're a Hawthorn supporter, tell me that before you give me your opinion of Buddy Franklin. If you're doing or have been doing any commercial dealings with Coles, it's reasonable we know that before you tell us that they are con men.
I have known. All right, Jeff Kennett owns up. I have known the original Coles family. I grew up with the daughter of one of the founders of Coles. I have known Coles managing directors. I've been involved with their directors. Their directors have been Solly Liu. Their directors have been Peter Bartels. Their directors have been Nick Greiner. Neil, I've worked within this community all my life. I know a lot of people. I don't consider that a conflict of interest. What I'm doing here now, I'm raising because I'm deeply concerned about whether we're going to have a manufacturing industry in this country in 5 years' time, and whether we're going to have farmers who are going to be able to produce products for Australians instead of simply importing the products overseas. I've raised this in good faith, not because of any conflict of interest. If I'd thought there would have been a conflict of interest, I would have said it. This is Coles fighting back to shut me up. They've made the allegation. I've come in here. I've answered it as fairly as you can. Ask Coles to come in here and explain what the conflict of interest is.
I have.
And what have they said?
Well, they say it's inappropriate to discuss it at this stage.
Well,
and I agree with you. That's unacceptable.
Rubbish. That's absolute rubbish. They are trying to shut me up in the same way they're trying to shut up those bakers and those suppliers of products to them, branded products, that they are screwing right now by demanding they lower their prices, or if they don't accept the lower prices, it forces them out of business. And many of those businesses cannot afford to lay off their staff. They are caught. We have this awful monopoly situation now between Coles and Woolworths, which is going to rebound. There is going to be a falling out at some stage in the future, right? Because it's not sustainable, right? You're breaking the system that provides the food. Now, all right, maybe I should shut up and say nothing about it, but that is not my style. I'm deeply concerned.
Nobody's objecting to you saying anything about it.
I am deeply concerned. I have no conflict of interest. If Coles want to make these allegations, they ought to get off their backside and do as I've come in here and answer the questions, or be specific, rather than just trying to throw a slur.
I agree entirely. Coles, the offer stands. Jeff Kennett, thank you.
Thank you very much indeed.